Is Chaos really worth saving your resources for until Phase 2 of version 1.1? Or is this simply a visually impressive banner that isn't actually a must-pull for every account? It's a question I've seen asked a lot within the NTE community. And today, I'm going to break it down as honestly as possible so you have all the information you need before making a decision. Because this is not the kind of banner where the right answer is the same for everyone. Before we get into it, if you enjoy realistic pull or skip analysis like this instead of one-sided hype videos, make sure to subscribe right now. My channel is still in its early stages, and every single subscription genuinely means a lot. Alright, let's get started. First, we need to place Chaos in the proper context of version 1.1. This is not the only banner in the patch, it's the Phase 2 banner that arrives after Lacrimosa in Phase 1. More specifically, Lacrimosa runs from June 3rd to June 24th, while Chaos begins on June 24 and lasts until July 8th under the banner titled Forsaken Path. And this is a small detail that is actually extremely important for planning. Chaos's banner only lasts 14 days, which is significantly shorter than Lacrimosa's 21-day Phase 1 run. That means if your resources are already limited, the window you have to make a decision on Chaos is actually smaller than many people assume. Just because it's a Phase 2 banner doesn't automatically mean you have plenty of extra time to watch the meta develop before deciding whether to pull or skip. Now let's talk about what kind of character Chaos actually is, because this is the part where I think a lot of people are misunderstanding him. Chaos is an S-Rank Lakshana character focused on close to mid-range combat. His core mechanic revolves around building up crime charges and then using his skills and ultimate to apply the warrant status to enemies. Warrant is not a standard debuff. Instead, it increases the amount of damage enemies take, meaning it functions as a damage amplification mechanic rather than simply adding flat damage from Chaos himself. In other words, Chaos doesn't just benefit his own performance, he also enables the entire team to hit harder against targets affected by Warrant. Outside of combat, he also brings a surprisingly interesting utility feature, the ability to place a hound that acts as a teleport point for map traversal. It might sound like a small detail at first, but in an open-world game like Hetero, this kind of functionality can be extremely practical, especially with Sunward Island being the new region introduced in version 1.1, where there will likely be plenty of locations that require more complex navigation. That's why Chaos is not simply another limited DPS character. He also offers additional value for players who enjoy optimizing exploration and world traversal, not just combat performance. To summarize it more simply, when you look at Chaos, you're looking at a DPS character that also brings meaningful map utility. His pull value isn't limited to boss fights or damage checks. It also extends into the overall open-world experience. That's a significant difference compared to some limited DPS characters that you pull solely for combat and rarely think about outside of battle. Now let's get into the most important part. Pull or skip? And I'm going to be direct by breaking it down for different types of players, instead of giving one generic answer that doesn't really help anyone. If your account is currently lacking a strong limited DPS and you don't have a reliable carry heading into version 1.1 Phase 2, then this is the strongest argument in favor of pulling. Chaos is positioned as a high-performance DPS with a kit built around self-buffing and amplifying damage through the warrant mechanic. If your roster currently has a gap in the damage dealer role, then he is a very clear candidate to fill that position. If you're the type of player who values characters that contribute both in combat and in world exploration, then Chaos is also a strong pickup. The Teleport Hound utility is not just a gimmick added for flavor, it has the potential to be genuinely useful in a game where open-world exploration is such a core part of the experience. Think about characters like Lacrimosa with her bat-form aerial mobility, or Nanalie with her anti-gravity wall running. NTE has already established a clear pattern where limited characters often come with unique exploration utilities in addition to their combat roles, and Chaos is no exception. That means part of his value comes not only from how much damage he deals, but also from how much convenience and flexibility he adds to your day-to-day gameplay throughout the world. Another very underrated reason to pull is the timing advantage that comes with being a Phase 2 banner. Because Chaos arrives after Lacrimosa, you'll have the opportunity to observe how the actual version 1.1 meta develops before you have to make your decision. You'll be able to watch streamers and content creators put Lacrimosa through real gameplay, see which team compositions are becoming popular, identify what strategies players are actually using, and get a much clearer picture of where the meta is heading. With that information, you can evaluate much more accurately how well Chaos fits into the evolving landscape of the game, instead of making a decision based purely on previews, theory crafting, or early assumptions. This is an advantage that Phase 1 banners simply don't have, and players who know how to take advantage of that extra information often end up making much better resource decisions in the long run.
Lacrimosa. Angry.
Now let's talk about the reasons to skip, because it's important to keep the discussion balanced. If you're an F2P player or a low spender and your resources are already stretched thin, then skipping is a completely reasonable decision. Chaos is a limited DPS, which means pulling for him directly competes with future banners that you still know very little about. And even within version 1.1 itself, Lacrimosa arrives first in Phase 1. If you've already invested heavily there, chances are you won't have much left to comfortably transition into Phase 2. If you already decided that Lacrimosa was your priority and planned your resources around Phase 1, it becomes very difficult to fully commit to Chaos in the same patch. And honestly, that's the choice many players are likely to make. Lacrimosa is already a very solid pull thanks to her dot-focused kit and bat form exploration utility. There's absolutely nothing wrong with focusing on one banner and skipping the other. Finally, if your roster already has enough strong damage dealers and what you need more is a support, healer, or reaction enabler, then Chaos's pull value drops significantly. At his core, he is still a DPS character, so if another DPS isn't something your account currently needs, then no matter how good his kit may be, he simply won't be the highest priority investment for your roster. Another important piece of context that I want to bring up is that version 1.1 isn't just about 2 character banners. This patch also introduces Sunward Island, Corridor of Echoes, the Porsche collab, Fight Club, Underground Circuit, and a large amount of additional event content. What that means is that player resources throughout version 1.1 are being pulled in multiple directions at the same time. It's not simply a matter of deciding which character banner to roll on. If you're targeting the Porsche collab, for example, that alone can represent a significant resource commitment, as I discussed earlier. On the other hand, if you've decided to skip the Porsche event and preserve your resources, then you naturally have much more flexibility when it comes to evaluating a Phase 2 banner like Chaos. This is why I think Chaos should never be judged in isolation. The real question isn't just, is Chaos good? The more important question is, how does Chaos fit into everything else competing for my resources during version 1.1? The answer to that will be different for every account, and that's ultimately what should drive your pull decision. So, what's my final verdict? Chaos is a banner that is worth pulling for the right type of account, but it is not an automatic must-pull for everyone. If you fall into one of these 3 groups, you're missing a strong limited DPS, you enjoy characters that combine combat strength with exploration utility, or you prefer waiting for the version 1.1 meta to settle before making a decision in Phase 2, then pulling Chaos is a choice with a solid foundation behind it. However, if your resources are already tight, if you invested heavily in Phase 1, or if your account simply doesn't need another DPS, then skipping is a completely responsible decision. The biggest mistake I want you to avoid is making your choice based on FOMO or simply because the character looks cool without considering the bigger picture of your account. NTE is a long-term game, and there will be many more banners in the future. Every time you skip a banner that doesn't genuinely fit your account's needs, you're often making a smarter investment toward the pulls that will matter much more down the road. If this video helped you make a clearer decision about Chaos, be sure to leave a like and drop a comment below. letting me know whether you're leaning toward pulling or skipping. I read every comment, and I'm always happy to discuss your thoughts and plans in more detail. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do it right now. My channel is still growing step by step, and your support genuinely means a lot. It helps me continue creating more high-quality pull or skip analyses like this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.